When it comes to research, there are millions of online resources. However, our students are struggling with knowing how to differentiate what resources are considered credible and what isn't. Many people immediately go to Google or Wikipedia when searching for information. The volume can be overwhelming and nearly impossible to weed through. By the end, most of the resources chosen are not credible. By attending our professional development, you will be learning how to provide your students with vital research skills by implementing a simple 4-step process. Before we get started, please feel free to note any questions you have during our presentation. We will allot time to answer any and all questions periodically as we present. Without further ado, today we will be discussing open access resources and where to find them, pros and cons of open access resources, how to incorporate the PEEP approach, and lastly, we will practice how to deem open access resources credible or not credible. You may be asking yourself, what are open access resources, or OAs? Open access resources are multilingual, scholarly articles that are freely available online. Some are considered credible, while others lack the strict process due to peer review and contain plagiarized text or documentation. There are 3 different types of open access resources: full or gold resources, hybrid, and delayed or green resources. The first type is full open access, meaning the whole journal is available. The second type is hybrid open access resources, meaning some are fully available to read, while others on the website aren't available for access. The third and final open access resource is delayed open access, meaning the contents of the article are only available for a certain period of time. An example may be a pre- or post-publisher review. An example of an available search engine to find OAs is Google Scholar or EBSCO. Let's take a brief pause to answer any questions. Next, we will continue by going over the pros and cons of open access journals. The benefits of open access journals include instant availability to anyone with internet connection, multilingual formats, reusable rights to access and print the published information, and the disbursement of available knowledge on a subject that typically wouldn't be available otherwise. The hope for any published researcher is that others will build upon the information in the future, rendering the research literature even more valuable. The drawbacks of open access include the subscription to access articles can be expensive. This will put a damper on any research project when in need of credible resources. The average cost publishers charge libraries for use is $1,000 per year. However, this is only the median. If the source is science, for example, then the cost could be over $4,000 per yearly subscription. Some feel OAs aren't a credible source due to not being a part of the rigid publication process. OAs also carry the high possibility of plagiarism due to the peer review system. Thievery is never an ideal situation when a researcher shares their findings, nor do researchers desire to be linked to that type of harsh reality in our literature times. Let's take a brief pause to answer any questions regarding the positives and negatives of open access resources. While working in the Computer Lab and Library Media Center, we have seen hundreds of students cross the threshold of available computer systems. When the teacher sends their students on a research journey, most students lack the knowledge of how to find sources that hold merit. Off to Google they search. But what if I told you there was a better way? What if I told you one simple procedure could change your students' research skills forever? Through collaborative means, students could learn one 4-letter word from their informative library media specialist that will make all the difference. And that educational changing method is known as the PEEP approach. The PEEP approach is a quick evaluation to determine if the open access article is credible or not. PEEP stands for Publication, Editor, Editorial Board, and Publisher. By reviewing the aspects of each article's website, one can make the confident decision to use or pass up that specific reference material. To evaluate the publication, one would look at the title, then ask, "Is this familiar?" If you are not familiar with the publication, then complete a quick search to find useful information. To evaluate the editor, it is important to search the editor and their affiliations. Then ask, "Is it familiar?" For example, is Cynthia Houston familiar? If you are not familiar with the editor, then complete a quick Google search to find out more about the editor and their affiliations. To evaluate the editorial board, one would look at all the members' names and affiliates. Then search each if you are not familiar with any of them for more information. Lastly, to evaluate the publisher, one has to ask, "Is the publication familiar?" For example, if you see a publication by the American Library Association, then you probably feel confident in the research material. However, as before, if you are not familiar, then complete another quick Google search for more information. Let's take a brief pause to answer any questions regarding the PEEP approach.